$1,205,000 of general obligation promissory notes, Series 2025A.
Yes, we have Mr. Greg from Ellers here. He will be giving a brief report on kind of what this promissory notes are all going to be about.
Thank you. Good evening. So in your packet was a copy of the pre-sale report, which is what I'm going to walk through this evening. This note issue finances capital improvement projects in the village, your upcoming street and sewer projects in 2025, and also refinances debt that provided interim financing for your 2024 street projects. I'll explain that a little bit more in a moment. But the narrative in the pre-sale report, I'll kind of summarize that verbally, but I really want to focus kind of my presentation on the financial tables that are included in the pre-sale report. So I'll walk through each of those. So we'll start with table 1 in the pre-sale report, which is labeled existing geo debt base case. This is a summary.
Sorry to interrupt. Could you push the button on the microphone? I think it turned off. What page is table? There,
better?
thank you.
Oh,
I can see it.
Page 12.
I got it.
if only it was that easy to keep me quiet. So,
Thank
so we'll start with kind of the summary of existing general obligation debt. So on the far left-hand side is your existing principal and interest payments that the village makes. There's other expenses that you budget in your debt service fund. Those are shown as general obligation debt expense. And then in the 2025 budget, included in your debt service fund was $70,000 that we're applying to prepay the state trust fund loan that was issued last year. So I'll speak to that in a moment. And then there are other revenue sources that you budget from your stormwater utility and your water utility to pay their respective share of your general obligation debt. So your levy for debt service in your 2025 budget was approximately $560,000. That's shown in the net tax levy column. You'll see that your existing debt shows your levies declining going forward, which leaves room to incorporate other capital financing should they be needed in the future. So your current tax rate per thousand on an equalized basis is $1.67 for debt service. So on page 2 is the kind of the summary of the sources and uses for the proposed financing. So again, you're financing some street and sewer projects that you'll be completing this year, about $494,000 of street projects, about $25,000 of sewer projects. And then last year you had about $577,000 of street projects that you were undertaking. Instead of financing that separately, since through a bond issue, since it was a smaller amount, the village secured a loan from the state to kind of provide the funds to complete those projects, and then we're kind of rolling it into this financing, and these notes will pay that off. So instead of kind of doing 2 separate financings for street projects, we rolled it all into one. So the total amount that you're issuing is $1,205,000. The streets and the refunding of the state trust fund loan will be repaid by your levy. The debt service for sewer projects will be repaid by sewer. So on page 3 is the estimated, or table 3, excuse me, is the estimated debt service schedule for these general obligation notes. The street portion of the 2025 projects is amortized out through 2044. The sewer projects will be paid off within 10 years. And then the refunding for the loan for last year's street projects will also be amortized out through 2044. So the interest rates that we're estimating are a little higher than what we're seeing in the market today. We typically like to be a little more conservative when we're presenting the fiscal impact. Hopefully rates will hold for the time we sell coming up with them. So table 4 shows the impact of your existing debt and then also the impact of these proposed notes. So on the far left-hand side of table 4, that's your existing levy for debt service from the first table. Then we show the estimated principal and interest for these notes in 2025. And then the portion that's paid by the sewer utility will reduce what's needed to levy for debt. So then under the columns debt service levy, total net debt service levy, you'll see with these notes included, your proposed debt service levies projected to increase by about $10,200 from 2025 to 2026. So pretty modest, really kind of keeping your debt service levy flat. So your current tax rate for debt service in 2025 budget is $1.67 per thousand. We're estimating that will be about $1.64 per thousand in 2026, including these proposed notes. So really the debt service levy is remaining stable relatively from 25 to 26, even with financing the 2025 projects and refinancing the projects. So finally, in table 5, this is general obligation debt of the village. You're limited by state law to how much general obligation debt principal you can have outstanding that cannot exceed 5% of the village's total equalized value. So at the end of 2024, the beginning of this fiscal year, the village had about $7.9 billion of general obligation debt outstanding. That was about 47% of your statutory limit. So you had about $8.8 million of borrowing capacity remaining. With some growth projected in your equalized value for this coming year, including these notes, we're estimating that the end of 2025, really will be at about 46.5% of your debt limit. So really right where you ended last year, started this year, leaving about $9.3 million of borrowing capacity. So the fact that you're under 50% utilization of your borrowing capacity is a very good spot to be. So just to give a final overview of the debt issuance process, we're at the first stage of that process, which is tonight. So the resolution on your agenda authorizes us to assist the village with going forward through the debt issuance process. The village's general obligation debt is rated, so we'll have a rating call with Moody's, which is scheduled in a couple of weeks. And then we'll be back on May 6th to present the results of the sale. The sale will occur that day. So typically we have sales on the day of the board meeting, so you can act on them fairly quickly because interest rates literally change on a daily basis. And then, the closing, the date the village will have the funds in the bank will be May 22nd. So time to start your summer construction process. So that's the overview of the sale. I'm happy to answer any questions.
And I just wanted to verify on the total debt percentage, we're allowed to do up about 75%.
We have an internal policy to not go over 75% of the statutory limit.
And so the 8.8 of capacity available, is that 75% of that?
It would be 75% of that number.
Yeah, okay. So we're well under that, which is good. Does the sewer, new water rates and sewer rates at all play into this at all?
No, not for the water, because the water we took out last year. And so we're financing this year's projects with the revenue bonds that were issued last year.
And the impact to the sewer utility for this debt service is about $15,000 to $18,000 a year.
Okay.
So it's a relatively modest.
And looking forward, we're looking to continue the water revenue bond process to keep the general obligation debt as low as we can to reduce, hopefully reduce over time the tax levy.
I was just going to ask that. So for next year, we do 2 years again on the water?
It depends on what we're looking at, but that's a possibility. Yeah.
Okay.
We'll have that discussion with Greg at that time.
Okay. So it's pretty much status quo is what we've done the last couple of years. So, pretty simple. Okay. Does anyone have any questions for Greg at all? Pretty satisfied. Good. Seems pretty straightforward. Does anyone want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to move forward with resolution 25-09.
I'll second it. A motion has been made and seconded. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
On opposition, say nay. Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate
you.
it.
Greg.
Item B, new business is discussion and possible action on a temporary Class B retailer's license for Danielle Ernst, Hope for Our Heroes.
Yes, this is the annual temporary Class B for Miss Ernst for her nonprofit bags tournament that's going to be held down at the park in August. They are going to be renting the community building, the baseball diamonds. Just very, good cause, happens every year for a number of years now. So just the normal annual process for that.
And I don't recall any problems with that event.
Other than weather.
Other than weather, yeah.
Disturbance wise, it's been fine.
Yeah.
I'll clarify.
I'll make a motion to give her the temporary Class B and Class B retailer's license.
Second.
A motion has been made and seconded. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All in opposition, say nay. Motion passes. New business item C, discussion and possible action on a Class C wine-only license for Lady Lynn Creations located at 12714 West Hampton Avenue, Suite A. Cho Chang Zhang, agent.
Yes, so Miss Cow is the owner of the business. Her occupancy was approved conditionally, I believe, about 2 weeks ago. One of the conditions was that she get the liquor license approved by the board, which is in front of you today. All the other conditions would be met. We had a conversation with Waukesha County Health Department. She doesn't have to have any type of food license because it's all going to be prepackaged foods. So she does not need to get any type of permit from them. She's going to be having the kind of an art studio kids party place right in the Mr. Paul Schultz's building, kitty corner to us. And she has been very, very communicative and very on the ball when it comes to anything that we've asked her to do. So this is just her license to be able to sell wine there.
Ben, I had a question. On the application, it shows a fee of $100, then it shows a reduction down to 30-something.
Yes, so she filled out 100, but the state statute says that if you're getting it in the middle of the year, or
Okay.
we prorate it.
Prorated, got it.
Very good.
I'll make a motion to approve the Class B wine license,
I'll,
temporary license.
I'll second that motion.
I'm sorry, Class C.
Motion has been made and seconded. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All in opposition, say nay. Motion passes. New business, item D, discussion on desired future property maintenance standard for the village.
Yes, so this was kind of a part two to what we had been discussing. So we've had a couple meetings now in the first meeting of the month discussing various things such as kind of how we want Hampton Avenue to look, how we want to get people engaged. So now this is kind of the next step that we were looking at, is kind of discussing property maintenance, because that has been a topic that has been brought up. And it also has been a concern of village administration. I did send you a kind of a memo or a summary of the past couple years with regards to property maintenance concerns. Last year was very, very high because there was a lot going on with weeds, grass, junked vehicles, and other complaints that were coming into the village, and also were being self-reported by either the police department, DPW, or administration. So that is the reason behind that increase. I guess this discussion is just kind of saying how, like, what do we want, kind of giving me direction on, do we want to look at adding some more teeth, exploring, redoing the property maintenance codes to kind of enforce some certain things. Because I'll point out a couple of different things. There was a property on Hampton Avenue that their garage has not been cited for months. Nothing specifically in our code states that it has to be cited. But there's a concern with that. There was concerns with weeds and stuff growing out of some gutters in the village. I think that I said that I had 6 or 8 of those issues last year. I had to use an ordinance with regards to water coming from the roof to the gutter to the ground to, try to get some of that dealt with instead of a property maintenance code, because we don't have, in the property maintenance code, it doesn't explicitly state that that's a problem. So just, again, looking to have that discussion, how you want to direct me to pursue this. Do you want me to be paying as much attention to property maintenance? Do you want me to be, a little bit more lax on that? I just kind of wanted to have the discussion, also see what we want to do going forward with the village.
Well, and I appreciate, I know we've had discussions about this, but one thing that stands out in your summary is, well, first of all, we are taking a much more active approach, and I think we need that. And the one thing that really stands out is the grass and the weeds. I mean, we went from 8 in 2023 to 59, and we know that those generate complaints. So I think that would definitely be keeping one on like toward the top. I mean, we want to give the appearance of a nice property or in a nice village. We don't want it to look like junk.
Yeah, and I'll just add to that. This isn't like, oh, I'm going out there with the measuring stick and, oh, you're an inch above 6 inches. Like, this is very clearly like grass growing onto the sidewalk. We cut grass last year that was almost 2 feet tall in backyards, because the property owner just was negligent in taking care of it, and whereas ignoring multiple letters from the village on this. So again, I don't take action on it until it's been at least 2 or 3 notifications saying, hey, this needs to get fixed.
And same with, our we're not trying to ticket people or fine people, but you give them multiple phone calls, letters. I mean, you do reach out to them before they get the citation, and they are warned about a citation. So it's not like we're just jumping on people because of a little things, but the things here are important, I think.
I think they're very important, and I think you should continue the efforts that you're putting forward with this. But I also think it's important that everything that we're talking about tonight gets shared on the website so people can see it and they can say, and maybe it's there, but maybe we need to make it, spring cleanup right on the homepage where they can click on it, because for them to say, well, we didn't know is everybody's,
That can be included in the e-newsletter.
the newsletter, a link
Couple
to
of
it,
times,
pictures
Yeah.
of what good looks like versus what bad looks like, But I think there needs to be that, and I think the newsletter, bless you, I think the newsletter is a great way to do that, because it's certainly more economical than a mailer that we can't guarantee everybody's going to get or see.
Yeah, I can agree with you on all of that, except for we do have good codes as it stands right now. I don't want to become an HOA of Butler. Okay, I'd rather have the rules we have now are pretty strict, given the parameters we have to work with. I think we should leave it as is and just keep an eye on it. And the ones that are continuing, like that 59, grass and weeds 59, just keep on top of them.
No, I agree with you 100%. I just think that if there's so much turnover. I mean, you look now, I think there's 7 houses for sale in the village, right?
Correct.
But there's so much turnover year after year. And I think as a reminder or as an information only type thing,
Exactly.
give somebody, maybe they didn't know, but give them a chance to see what they should know.
Yeah,
Kind of
yeah.
thing.
Well, take pride in what they own.
Absolutely.
But then that leads to the problem of the renters, where the landlords or the owners aren't around and they're not seeing our emails and our Facebook posts and things like that. So that's kind of tough to communicate and have that ownership pride with them.
It is until Ben calls them.
I'm just saying, but yep, and that was my only question. Bill spoke to the code. Is there code that we could do that would be better, without, and I agree, we don't want to be nitty-picky about it, but if there is code that could be enacted that would make your job easier, that would be worth looking into.
Yeah, and like I said, I don't want to be, believe me, it takes up enough of my time
Sure.
and
If
making it.
it's adequate,
making
it's
it
adequate. That's fine. So it
correct.
was just a question I had.
And there should be some common sense and just
Sure.
general like expectations. But I mean, I can definitely, I've taken down a couple areas where I think that at least, I might bring up to the board, just like, hey, this is kind of what's going on. Like I said, with one of the things, like I said, with the accessory buildings, the detached garages, there's nothing in our code that I could find actively when I searched that said that they need to be cited. So this garage is just TAVAC wrapped, and that's it.
Mhm.
So it's we had a complaint from the neighbor saying that this has been this way for months. They haven't done any work on it.
Okay,
to
can I
decide
speak
it.
to that? Can I speak to that property specifically?
Sure.
I helped Tony put that building back together, and it was shambles from what it started from. From October till now, he's already put a roof on the place. He's already cleaned it up quite a bit. around there trying to get the materials back where they belong. The scrap has been taken care of because he got married in between, he got sick, and he had put a roof on since October. So those three things for any normal person, I think has been right at the max of his abilities, but he is moving forward on that. Once
I
it was
I
brought,
talked with him. I had a very good
once it was brought to
conversation
his
with him.
attention. So,
But like I said, when I get a complaint from a neighbor, I have to act on it. So, and I had a good conversation with him. And he's moving forward. I said, we're all good to go once that gets all fixed up. So, I appreciate his efforts on that.
So I don't know which property you're speaking of, but that would be since October this has been? Or
At
is it,
least.
did it go back even before that?
I can't speak to that.
My initial thought is that if it happened in October, as an example, the old siding came off and Tyvek went up, and then you had the winter, some illness, I could see where the delay would be, and that makes sense.
but yeah,
But if-
put it this time.
And
I
if
understand.
I may, so for zoning infractions, for code enforcement infractions, they're not like police infractions where you see somebody, you give that speeding, you give them a ticket because they had an infraction. Zoning infractions are much more about we reach out to somebody and they're communicating with us months, this is my timeline. Great. Ultimately, from a zoning standpoint, we want to see compliance, we want to see progress. And if there's special circumstances, medical, divorce, other situations, I mean, most of the time it's like, hey, we ask them, what's a good timeline? But then we just want the code to be able to hold them to it. And so it's about a dialogue. It's not about writing a ticket as soon as we can. It's that communication, reaching out to the property owner and then getting that compliance more often than not with their own timeline.
And that makes sense. I mean, so I guess as we move forward with it, if you see something from your office that you need some sort of zoning correction or update, I think that the dialogue you've had to date, maybe some pictures. I mean, on this case, we had a complaint, so we can't just ignore it.
And like I said, you don't have to approve every resolution, ordinance change that comes in front of you. You know, there's room for discussion, there's room for debate. My feelings are never hurt if something gets voted down. It's just, again, it's a proposal. So like I said, I just wanted to add that in there.
And one suggestion maybe on Facebook or social media is to Brad, is maybe this year we could maybe show a picture of a lawn that's overgrown and just put on there, hey, you got maybe a before and after. So we just publish, hey, you can't have your lawn looking like this. We will cut it, just put out there what we'll do to take, we'll take action about it. So people know that we're vigilant as well. I think that's fair.
And that actually sheds a better light on administration and the board and so on and DPW, because I think a lot of times people think it's being ignored and it's not being dealt with, so that just communicates that to people that, it's being worked on. So that's a positive in itself.
And I don't know if this applies, but I had someone over the weekend ask me about the park. And it was specific to the basketball courts. And they were walking their dog and they saw a bunch of bottles, empty bottles, water bottles, Gatorade bottles and stuff at the end of the court. And they asked if there was any way we could do something about that. And as I looked around and I stood there, we have a garbage can in the basketball courts at the end of but that's the end that there's no hoop. So everybody's playing basketball down there where there's no garbage can. So they're throwing their bottles and stuff there, right? They don't see the garbage can over there. They're over here. Is there a way that with the standards that we're asking for the village to maintain in their yards, is there a way we can post something or maybe even add a secondary garbage can?
Yeah.
To kind of eliminate, she's like, Brad, what do we do about that? And I'm like, you know what, we have a meeting. Let me ask, but something like that where they can, the second we put the garbage can there, they're going to see we took action. And it's as simple as one garbage can, and maybe that helps clean up, maybe that helps DPW in it. I don't know if that falls in with that, or if that's something we can do, but
It's an easy try, that's
it
for
seems
sure.
like it, right?
Yeah.
You know?
I know we added a coal bin by the picnic area and
Sure
that gets used. So we can most certainly can try it. All right, does anyone have any other, we're gonna keep this on the agenda for current, future items, just to kind of keep it fresh. Anyone have any other comments?
Yeah, Ben, does the residential and the commercial overlap one another, or they're separate as far as appearances and upkeep? And is it just a general for the village or
Like-
specific?
Like code wise or situationally?
Just property maintenance?
Well, I've seen a split, probably in the occurrences between, commercial and industrial and, residential. For the code, there is some delineation, with regards to that. Some of it could be a little bit more specified. I guess just just to make a point, our code isn't super clear when it comes to like storage of RVs, boats, campers, and stuff like that, where a lot of industrial and commercial properties have those stored outside. When it appears that the intent of the code is for residential properties to be the only ones that can store that stuff outside. Like I said, it's just kind of an example of where there is a little bit of delineation when it comes to property maintenance in the code, but usually it's just enforced and it applies to all properties across the village.
Anything else?
I would just say that I think we're trending good, and all the work that you guys are doing will just get noticed more and more as time goes by.
Yeah, thank you for bringing this. I mean,
Yeah.
for staying on top of it. I know your office is already busy, but this helps keep the village looking nice.
Yeah, and it keeps businesses here, right? I mean, building board had that tonight, right? We have a major company investing back into the community and putting on a pretty major addition onto their property, and staying here versus going out and find a building that'll just take everything, and it's a quick move, right? There's a lot involved in them building something that big here.
Thank you. Is there a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second it.
A motion's been made and second. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
On opposition, say nay. Motion passes. We're adjourned 6:35. Thank you.
You're all stop there. Stop it.